My sister slept with my fiancé at his bachelorette party. I discovered the video evidence and vanished silently. What unfolded next shattered their perfect lives beyond repair. I'm Rachel. I'm 30 years old, and I discovered my sister slept with my fiancé at his bachelor party. Before I tell you how that soul-crushing discovery led to the systematic annihilation of their perfect lives, let me paint you a picture of what my world looked like just 1 month before the wedding I'd spent 2 years planning. On the surface, my life was the American dream. I had a solid career as a financial analyst, a job requiring steady hands and sharp minds, qualities that defined me. I owned a modest but comfortable house in a decent suburban neighborhood. And I had Ethan, the man I was about to promise my life to. Ethan was magnetic. That's the only word for him. He had a laugh that could command a room and a smile that made you feel like the most important person in it. We'd been together 6 years, since meeting at a friend's barbecue where we talked for hours by the fire pit. Our life together felt scripted: marriage, a golden retriever, 2.5 kids, and growing old on a porch swing. I wasn't just content with that script, I craved it. But every bright picture casts a shadow, and the shadow looming over my life was my younger sister Jessica. If I was the steady, reliable Earth, Jessica was the blazing sun everyone orbited. She was the golden child, wearing that title with effortless, infuriating swagger. Charming, beautiful, skating through life on a winning smile and confidence that bordered on arrogance. While I built my life brick by painstaking brick, Jessica seemed to find fully formed castles waiting for her. My parents were her most devoted worshippers, seeing her flash as brilliance and my quiet competence as just quiet. The wedding preparations were a storm of activity. My life became a blur of cake tastings, seating charts, and tense conversations about floral arrangements. Ethan's best man, Marcus, was at the center of planning the bachelor party. Marcus was Ethan's college friend, the opposite of sunshine. He was a firecracker, loud and intense, someone who thrived on drama. He took charge of the bachelor party with worrying enthusiasm, promising Ethan one final night of glorious chaos. I remember him smirking at Jessica during a family dinner. "Don't worry, Jess," he'd said, winking. "I'll make sure your big sister's man has a night he'll never forget." I should have seen it, the way he said it, the look in his eye. But I was a woman in love, blinded by the bright future just weeks away. I trusted them. That was my fundamental mistake. The night of the party, I enjoyed the rare silence of the house. The next day, Wednesday, I left work an hour early. As I pulled into my driveway, I saw it, a small, elegant box sitting on my doorstep. Wrapped in plain brown paper, addressed simply to Rachel. The return address was a generic print shop in the next town over. Taped to the top was a small gift tag, "From your friends at work. Congrats." It felt off. My colleagues had already given me a gift card at the office party, but I brushed it off. I took the package inside and placed it on the kitchen counter, going through my usual routine, sorted mail, drank water, but the box seemed to stare at me. Finally, I grabbed a knife, slit the tape, and opened it. Inside, nestled in black tissue paper, was a single flash drive. Taped to its plastic casing was a folded piece of paper. My fingers felt numb as I unfolded it. 4 words printed in neat, impersonal block letters: "Thought you should see this." Cold dread settled in my stomach. This wasn't a gift. It was a weapon. My hands shook as I walked to my home office. I sat down, heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I plugged the drive into my laptop. A single video file appeared on screen, a random jumble of letters and numbers for a file name. I stared at it for a full minute, war raging inside me. Part of me screamed to throw it away, to preserve my ignorance. But the bigger part, the analyst, the observer, needed to see the truth. I double-clicked. My world didn't just end. It was unmade, disassembled piece by piece in the flickering light of the screen. The video was shaky, filmed on a phone in a loud, crowded bar. I could hear Marcus's high-pitched laughter behind the camera, egging them on. Then I saw them. My fiancé, Ethan, his hair messy, his face flushed with alcohol and excitement. And my sister, Jessica, her arms snaked around his waist, pulling him tight. They were laughing, shouting over the music, and then she leaned in and kissed him. It wasn't a drunken peck. It was deep, consuming, full of desperate, ugly hunger. The camera zoomed in, capturing every damning detail. The video continued, showing more betrayal that burned itself onto my eyelids. The roaring sound of the bar faded, replaced by roaring in my own ears. I didn't shout. I didn't throw my laptop against the wall. I just sat there, my body turning to ice as the woman I was, the happy, trusting, future-facing Rachel, bled out on my office floor. The grief was a physical blow. The rage was a white-hot nova. Then it was all gone. The storm passed, leaving profound, terrifying, powerful silence. Cold clarity settled over me. I ejected the flash drive, its plastic warm against my cold skin. It felt like plutonium, small but capable of immense destruction. I opened my laptop, created a new encrypted folder named Simply Consequence, and copied the video file. The plan hadn't fully formed yet, but I knew its purpose. They had built their world on my trust, my stability, my quiet love. They had used my heart as their playground. Well, recess was over. I was about to teach them the meaning of consequence. Before you can understand the cold precision of my next moves, you need to understand 30 years of kindling that fed this fire. My reaction wasn't just about infidelity, it was about a lifetime of being the supporting actress in someone else's movie. I was 10 years old when I wanted a top-of-the-line telescope for my birthday. I'd spent months reading astronomy books, drawing star charts, dreaming of seeing Saturn's rings. I dropped hints for weeks. My parents smiled and nodded. On my birthday morning, I tore open my present. It was a telescope, yes, but cheap plastic from a department store. Thanks, I mumbled, hiding my disappointment. It's great. My dad clapped my shoulder. That's my practical girl. No need for fancy bells and whistles. A month later, Jessica's birthday arrived. She was 2 years younger but had always acted like the elder. She decided she wanted to be a rock star, banging on a tennis racket for a week. My parents bought her a brand new electric guitar and powerful amplifier that shook the house, costing 3 times my telescope. My dad beamed as Jessica made horrible screeching noises. That's my daughter, the artist. You have to nurture that kind of passion. I sat in my room that night with my flimsy telescope, unable to even find the moon clearly, listening to the cacophony downstairs. I learned a fundamental lesson: my quiet passions were hobbies. Her fleeting whims were art. This dynamic only worsened as we aged. Fast forward to college graduation. I worked tables for 4 years, minimizing student loans, graduating magna cum laude in finance. My graduation dinner was at a chain restaurant. My father raised a beer glass. To Rachel, he said pleasantly but without excitement. Always a hard worker. We're proud of you. Now let's not be late, everyone needs to be sharp for Jessica's big day this weekend. Jessica's graduation ceremony the following weekend, she'd scrape by with C average in business marketing, was treated like a national holiday. Private room at the city's best restaurant, balloons, endless toasts. The centerpiece was parked outside, a gleaming cherry red convertible with a massive bow. Jessica didn't look surprised. She just grinned, slapped the roof, and said, "About time." My dad's arm went around Jessica's shoulders, his voice booming for the restaurant to hear. This is my daughter, the dealmaker. She's got killer instinct. She's going to take the world by storm. I stood to the side, sipping flat champagne, the feeling of invisibility almost physical. It wasn't the car, it was the flagrant disparity. Her potential was an investment. My achievements were checklist items, the professional world proved no different. Years into my career, I identified a niche opportunity in sustainable energy futures, developing a comprehensive investment strategy. It was innovative, well-researched, and I was immensely proud. I made the colossal mistake of sharing it with my dad over Sunday barbecue. He seemed genuinely impressed. Wow, Rachel. This is really smart stuff. The following weekend, my dad made an announcement at family dinner. Everyone, exciting news. Jessica has decided to branch out, starting a new investment project. My blood ran cold. Jessica stood up, presenting a butchered, dumbed-down version of my plan as her own. She got terminology wrong, couldn't answer basic questions, but the core idea was unmistakably mine. My parents and Ethan looked at her with stars in their eyes. "Oh, Jessica, that's brilliant," my mother gushed. "You always had such a wonderful head for business." I looked at Ethan pleadingly, but he just smiled, squeezed my hand, and whispered, "It's amazing how ambitious your family is. You're both so talented." It was a knife twist. He wasn't just ignoring the theft, he was normalizing it, absorbing my achievement into the collective mythology of the amazing Patterson girls, where Jessica was president, and I was apparently the silent research department. Only my best friend Sarah saw the truth clearly. After that dinner, I drove to her apartment, anger and humiliation making me physically sick. She took one look at my face and knew. "Let me guess," she said, handing me a beer. "Jessica just invented something amazing that sounded vaguely familiar." I nodded, unable to speak. "Rachel, you have to stop giving them your gold," she said firmly. "They don't value it. They just melt it down to make another trophy for her shelf. They don't deserve your brilliance." She was right, but they were my family. How do you just stop? There was one other person who understood, my grandfather. He was a carpenter, a man of few words but profound wisdom. Before he passed when I was 25, he gave me advice more valuable than inheritance. In the hospital room, he'd waved my parents and restless Jessica out, wanting to speak alone. His hand, rough from a lifetime shaping wood, gripped mine with surprising strength. "Rachel," he rasped, eyes clear and sharp. "Your father's a good man with a good heart, but with value, he's blind. He sees flash, not substance. You have my eye for this stuff. You see the grain of the wood." He paused, taking a rattling breath. "Look after them. They're family. But listen to me now, look after yourself first. Don't ever let them make you feel small. Don't you dare let them forget what you're worth. I tried honoring both parts of his wish. I did look after them in ways they couldn't comprehend. I took the small inheritance he left and grew it. When my parents asked me to review their retirement savings, I didn't just look, I took over, silently turning their puddle into a small lake, becoming their financial guardian angel without seeking credit because it kept the peace. As I sat in my car at that desolate rest stop hours from home, the damning video looping in my memory, all these ghosts returned. The cheap telescope, the stolen idea, my grandfather's dying words. This wasn't just about Ethan sleeping with Jessica. This was about them collectively taking my life's work, my quiet dedication, my very worth, and treating it like nothing. The pain was physical weight in my chest, but something else was there too, strange lightness. The burden of being the good daughter, the peacekeeper, had lifted. They'd finally pushed too far, reminding me of my grandfather's second command, look after yourself first. I picked up my burner phone, scrolled past family names, each a monument to the past I was leaving, and found Sarah's name. She answered immediately. Hey, good? It's over, I said, my voice belonging to a stranger. All of it? Where are you? She asked, her voice a steady anchor. Driving. Don't know where yet, but I'm gone. Okay, she said calmly. Just be safe. Call when you land. We'll figure out the rest. I hung up, pulled out my real phone, turned it off, and snapped the SIM card in half. The tiny crunch was satisfying. The escape was real, and the war had begun. The first 24 hours were a masterclass in controlled demolition. I holed up in a generic motel, buying a new burner phone and cheap laptop with cash. Sleep was impossible. Instead, I sat in buzzing fluorescent light, fueled by bitter coffee and clarifying rage. My first objective, dismantle the wedding. It was the public face of our shared life, the symbol of the future they desecrated. It had to burn first. I accessed our cloud drive containing the wedding spreadsheet and began making calls. The venue coordinator, Brenda, answered cheerfully. Good morning, this is Rachel Patterson. I'm calling about the Patterson-Williams wedding scheduled for next month. Oh, Miss Patterson. We're so excited. There's been a change of plans, Brenda. We need to cancel. Silence, thick with confusion. Cancel? But we're past the deadline for full refunds. Everything is fine, I lied smoothly. Unforeseen circumstances. I understand the deposit is non-refundable, but the secondary deposit should be refundable with penalty. Please process that to the following account. I gave her details for a new, untraceable account I'd opened that morning. She stammered, apologized, agreed. One call down, the first domino tipped. Next, photographer, caterer, band, florist. The bakery call was almost comical. You want to cancel the Eternal Love cake? The baker asked, personally offended. That's right, I said. Eternal Love is officially dead. With each call, I felt pieces of my old life being surgically removed. Hollow and painful, but with each amputation came strange empowerment. I was no longer victim of their story, I was the editor, cutting characters who no longer served the plot. By mid-afternoon, shockwaves hit home. My burner phone, number given only to Sarah, started buzzing. Text from Sarah, Category 5 meltdown here. Ethan called 5 times hysterical. Jessica left rambling voicemail. Your parents called my parents. They're telling everyone you had a nervous breakdown. A bitter laugh escaped. Nervous breakdown, so perfectly them, framing my departure as weakness rather than consequence of their actions. Let them. Truth had a way of clearing things up. Time to deploy the truth. I composed a new email. Subject line, this is why I'm gone. To my friends, I know many are worried or heard rumors. I didn't have a breakdown, I had a revelation. I'm sorry you have to see this, but you deserve truth. Below the text, I attached the video file. No further explanation necessary, the video spoke for itself. I sent it to 5 carefully selected mutual friends, decent, loyal, and discreetly influential people. It was a digital time bomb, and I just set the timer. Hours later, Sarah sent confirmation, a screenshot from the wedding party group chat. A concerned bridesmaid asked Marcus what happened at the party. Marcus's reply was masterful feigned innocence, OMG guys, it was awful. Ethan got so drunk, just threw himself at Jessica. I tried to pull him away but he was completely out of control. I feel terrible for Rachel. My heart is broken for her. But Sarah sent a second screenshot from a trusted groomsman who'd seen a DM on Marcus's phone from Jessica the night after the party. He'd been so disgusted he'd photographed it, hope you had as much fun as I did watching, winking face emoji, he doesn't deserve a great girl like her. You know who does? The pieces clicked. Marcus hadn't just filmed the event, he produced it. He'd gotten Ethan drunk, pushed him toward Jessica, created the scandal he was now pretending to be horrified by. That flash drive wasn't accidental, it was a weapon, deliberately placed for me to find. He wanted to burn Ethan's life down, not for me, but for his own chance to claim Jessica. With social groundwork laid, time for the final, most devastating strike. Ethan's parents, the Williamses. They were good, decent people, but their values were carved from old-world stone. Deeply religious, intensely private, prizing honor and family integrity above all. They loved me, seeing me as the steady, reliable woman who'd provide their only son with safe, respectable life. They were about to learn that vision was a lie. This was the point of no return, the move that wouldn't just end a wedding but detonate the core of Ethan's world. I hesitated, finger hovering over son for what felt like hours. The old Rachel screamed to stop. This was too much, too cruel, would break their hearts and annihilate him. Then I closed my eyes and the video played. I saw Jessica's laughing face as she betrayed me, saw my fiancé's entitled betrayal, heard my grandfather's voice, "Don't you dare let them forget what you're worth." I remembered the photo on my nightstand from our anniversary lake trip, both smiling, picture of happiness. That woman in the photo was a fool, trusting, loving, naive. She was dead. I had to honor her death by living truthfully. A single tear traced down my cheek, the last I'd ever shed for Ethan or our supposed life. I wiped it away, jaw set like concrete. Subject: the truth about the wedding. Mr. and Mrs. Williams, I write with deepest regret. I'm canceling our wedding. The reason is in the video below. I'm sorry you must see this, but you deserve to know the real character of the woman your son was with and his real character. I included the video link and attached a copy of our recent couples counseling intake form showing we've been working on communication, a subtle but clear message about the effort I'd put into our relationship. I took a deep breath and clicked send. The gentle whoosh was the loudest sound I'd ever heard, the sound of a bridge being dynamited, a carefully constructed world turning to ash. The storm was fully unleashed. I had no idea what wreckage would look like, but knew I wouldn't be buried under it. Days that followed were disciplined silence on my part. From my sterile motel room, I watched the digital storm with Sarah as my weatherman, her texts my only connection to the incinerated life. The Williamses have gone dark. Ethan's calling nonstop, they won't answer. He went to their house, they wouldn't open the door. That's scarier than yelling. Your parents are in damage control mode. Your dad's telling everyone you're unstable. Jessica tried floating the idea the video was deepfake. Didn't work, too many people were there. But I wasn't just hiding, watching fires burn. That would be passive. The old Rachel was passive. The new Rachel was a builder. While their world imploded, I was laying foundations for my new one. I called my boss, CEO Mr. Davis, formidable man in his 60s, sharp as steel with built-in aversion to bullshit. He valued loyalty and results. I'd always given both. "Rachel," he answered crisply. "My assistant said you were taking personal time. Trust everything's in order?" "Significant family emergency, sir. The wedding's been called off. I'll need 2 weeks to manage fallout, but I want to assure you my work won't suffer. I've prepared contingency plans for the quarterly review." "I'm sorry to hear that. A broken engagement is terrible. Take the time you need. Your work's always been first rate. If the company can assist, don't hesitate." This was my opening. "Actually, sir, this situation has forced personal asset restructuring. It's illuminated where my real strengths lie, far beyond my current job description." "Is that so?" Interest colored his voice. "Intriguing. When you're back on your feet, let's have lunch. I'd be interested in your thoughts." Adrenaline shot through me, the feeling of control. I wasn't just reacting to the past, I was building a future they couldn't touch. But the past reached for me. My phone buzzed with an email alert from my credit monitoring service, new credit inquiry alert. Someone had tried to run a credit check using my social security number. The inquiry location, my home city. Jessica, of course. She probably convinced someone she was me, trying to track my financial activity. She was hunting me. I was packed and gone in 3 minutes, heart pounding as I called Sarah. "She's trying to find me. I need to disappear completely." "I have a place," Sarah said instantly. "My family's old cabin in the Berkshire Hills of Massachusetts. Primitive, no cell service, barely functional Wi-Fi. No one's been there in years. I'll text coordinates." The drive north was tense hours, every car in my mirror feeling like threat. The cabin was salvation, fortress of solitude deep in woods, smelling of pine and old memories. For 2 days, I breathed. Silence was absolute except for wind through tall trees. I felt safe. That safety shattered on day 3, crunch of tires on gravel. I froze, grabbed the iron poker from beside the cold fireplace, flattened against the wall by the door. Car door slammed. Familiar voice called, "Rachel, it's me, Tom. Sarah told me where you were." She was worried. Tom, a cousin, family Switzerland, always neutral. I cautiously opened the door. He stood there, face masked with genuine concern. "I can't believe it," he said, stepping inside. "What they did is unforgivable. The whole family's in chaos." For an hour, he played his part perfectly. "Let me talk," listened, nodded appropriately, validated my anger and pain. He made me feel like I had an ally, a bridge back to normalcy. Then he made his move, leaning forward with serious negotiation expression. Listen, Rachel. I talked to your dad. He's broken. Your mom hasn't stopped crying. They're devastated. He paused. What Jessica and Ethan did was monstrous, no excuse. But you going scorched earth, airing family dirty laundry for the world. It's destroying the family reputation. Your grandparents' name. People are talking. It's public embarrassment. I stared, hand tightening on the poker. Embarrassment echoed in the quiet cabin. What we need, he continued conspiratorially, is to contain this. Handle it in-house. You need to come home. We'll have a big family meeting. Jessica will apologize on her knees if necessary. You and Ethan can figure that out. But key is presenting united front to the world. Shut down gossip for the family's good. For the family's good. Not mine. Not justice. For image. To save face. To avoid social standing inconvenience. He wasn't an ally, he was a PR agent dispatched by my father to convince me to bury my integrity for their comfort. One more person telling me my profound pain was secondary to their social standing. The last fragile thread connecting me to that family snapped. My resolve, tempered by hope, was now quenched in ice, hardening into something sharp and unbreakable. You should go, Tom, I said, voice eerily calm. Rachel, just think about it. I cut him off. A cold, bright idea flashed. And you're right. The meeting is a great idea. You can tell my father I'll be there. I have things I'd like to discuss face to face. Relief washed over his face, he thought he'd won. Fantastic. That's the right move. He left practically beaming, convinced of diplomatic victory. He had no idea what he'd accomplished. He hadn't brought the prodigal daughter home, he delivered the enemy an invitation to their execution. The living room of my childhood home felt like a tragedy stage set. Air thick with unspoken accusations and cloying scent of my mother's potpourri. I hadn't set foot here in what felt like eternity, yet nothing had changed. Same family portrait smiling dishonest smiles, same grandfather clock ticking toward judgment it couldn't foresee. They were all there, jury of my tormentors. My father in his throne-like leather armchair, face masked with stern disappointment. My mother perched on sofa edge, picture of grieving matriarch, tissue clutched in hand. Ethan sat beside her, pale and diminished, ghost of the vibrant man I planned to marry. Jessica paced like a caged panther, swagger gone, replaced by raw, twitchy desperation. Cousin Tom stood by the fireplace, pleased with himself, self-appointed peacemaker. I walked to the empty armchair facing my father, reserved for guests, and sat down. I placed a slim black leather portfolio on the coffee table between us. Silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. My father appointed himself spokesman. Rachel, thank you for finally seeing reason. This public spectacle has gone on long enough. You've caused this family great pain and embarrassment. I met his gaze, expression unreadable. Embarrassment? That's what you think my pain is, an inconvenience? What your sister did was a mistake, my mother interjected, voice rising with indignation. Foolish, drunken mistake. But families forgive. You don't tear a family apart over one mistake. Ethan took his cue, launching into clearly rehearsed sob story. Rachel, I'm so sorry. I wasn't myself that night. Marcus kept handing me drinks, and Jessica. It just happened. But I love you. I've always loved you. We can get past this. Jessica finally stopped pacing, running hands through perfectly messy hair. She looked at me with desperate plea, but no genuine remorse, only primal fear of consequence. I messed up, Rach. Okay? Messed up bad. I was an idiot. I'll do anything to make it right. Just tell me what to do. I let their symphony of excuses fade into clock ticking. I surveyed their faces one by one. They didn't see me, they saw a problem to manage, rogue variable disrupting their comfortable equation. I leaned forward slowly, opened the portfolio. I'm not here to discuss the video, I said. Shock rippled through the room, this wasn't the confrontation they'd prepared for. We all know what's on it. I'm here to talk business. Family business. I slid a thick, professionally bound document across the polished table, stopping directly in front of my father. Do you recognize this? He picked it up, brow furrowing as he read the cover page. The Patterson Family Trust. What is this? That, I said, voice cold and hard as granite, is the legal entity I established 5 years ago. Designed to manage your retirement savings that were languishing in a savings account earning pathetic 0.5% yearly. I designed it to grow that money, build a fortress protecting you both in old age. I shifted my gaze to Jessica, now staring at the document like a venomous snake. It's the fund you've been freely dipping into for your investment ventures. The fund that paid for that car lease you're so proud of. Jessica's jaw went slack. My father looked from document to me, confusion warring with disbelief. What are you talking about? Jessica handles our investments. She's got natural talent, done a fantastic job. A small, bitter smile touched my lips. No. Jessica was listed as beneficiary with limited withdrawal privileges requiring my sign-off I foolishly gave every time she asked. I was founder, trustee, and sole manager. I spent countless nights and weekends of my unpaid time making trades, analyzing markets, turning your initial $60,000 investment into the $750,000 it's worth today. The number dropped into silent room like a boulder into still pond. My mother let out a strangled gasp. Ethan's eyes widened with new, terrifying calculation. My father defaulted to lifelong programming, denial and scorn. He laughed, short, barking sound. You? Don't be absurd, Rachel. You're a junior analyst at a downtown firm. What would you know about managing that kind of portfolio? This was it, the moment I'd replayed 1,000 times, the precipice. You're absolutely right, Dad. I'm just a junior analyst. Perhaps you should get a second opinion from my mentor. I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen. The huge flat screen above the fireplace flickered to life. I connected via hotspot the moment I walked in. The stern, professional face of Mr. Davis filled the screen, seated behind his large mahogany desk. Mr. Davis, thank you for taking time to join us. Could you clarify for my family the nature of our working relationship and my role at the firm? Mr. Davis looked directly into camera, gaze piercing. Good afternoon. Rachel, it's my pleasure. To the Patterson family, let me be clear, Rachel hasn't been a junior analyst in spirit for 3 years. She's been my personal protege, one of the sharpest financial minds I've encountered in my 40-year career. She's been managing a high-yield, high-risk fund for select top executives. Her returns have been extraordinary. When she mentioned managing a small family trust pro bono, I wasn't surprised. It's in her DNA. Color drained from my father's face like a pulled plug. My mother stared at the screen, hand covering mouth. I reached into the portfolio, pulled out a single sheet, sliding it across the table. This is a copy of the trust's bylaws, Dad. Article 4, Section 2, I've highlighted it. The morality clause. My father's hand trembled reaching for the paper. I recited from memory, voice a death knell, the trust and all assets therein shall be immediately and irrevocably dissolved, with all assets reverting to sole and exclusive ownership of the founder, Rachel Patterson, in the event that any immediate family member or their betrothed engages in gross moral turpitude including but not limited to infidelity, criminal activity, or any act bringing public shame upon the family name. I leaned back, letting words sink in. The video was proof of moral turpitude. Sending it to our friends and the Williamses made that shame public. The contract is broken. You broke it. I turned to the screen. So Mr. Davis, as discussed this morning, have dissolution papers been filed? They have, Rachel. As of 9:05 a.m. today, the Patterson Family Trust officially ceased to exist. All assets totaling $423,847.21 have been transferred to a new private wealth account under your sole control. The wrecking ball hadn't just hit the house, it pulverized the foundations. My father looked at me, mouth opening and closing like a fish, but no sound emerged. All bluster, all patriarchal authority had vanished, leaving a terrified, bewildered old man. My mother wept openly, not for her daughter's pain, but for lost security. Ethan stared with pure horror, realizing he hadn't just cheated on his fiancé, he'd thrown away a winning lottery ticket worth millions in future earnings. Jessica finally collapsed onto the sofa, burying her head in hands, body shaking. The sun they'd all orbited had been extinguished, revealed as nothing but hollow, gilded prop paid for by the sister she'd spent a lifetime trying to eclipse. Power in that room hadn't just been rearranged, it had been conquered, and I was its new queen. Mr. Davis spoke with final, curt nod. Rachel, I'll leave you to family business. My office will be in touch tomorrow about the new fund. Well done. The screen went black. Sudden absence of his authoritative presence made silence feel heavier, like physical weight. Only sounds were frantic clock ticking and my mother's thin, ragged weeping. For a full minute, no one moved or spoke. Reality of their new, impoverished future was a chasm opened at their feet, and they stared into it, paralyzed. My father, never at a loss for words, looked shrunken in his big leather chair. He stared at the blank TV, then at the useless trust document, finally at me. His eyes were wide with desperate confusion. He wasn't just looking at his daughter, he was looking at the architect of his ruin. You can't. That's our money, Rachel. Our retirement. Our future. No, I said, voice cutting through silence sharp and final. It was your money. More accurately, your seed money. I was the farmer who tilled soil, planted seed, tended crop. You were to be beneficiaries of harvest. But you let wolves into the field. You broke the contract. The deal is off. I stood, the motion slow, deliberate, final. In a flash, Ethan was off the couch, face a desperate, tear-streaked mask. He lunged forward, grabbed my arm, manicured nails digging into my sleeve. His touch was repellent, ice and fire at once. Rachel, please. Please don't do this. We can fix this. I swear I'll never speak to her again. We can still get married. We can have that money, that life, our life. I looked down at his hand, this hand I'd once dreamed of holding forever. Then I looked into his eyes. There was no love there, no remorse for the pain he'd caused me. There was only raw animal panic of a gambler who'd just lost everything on a stupid, reckless bet. He wasn't mourning me, he was mourning the lifestyle I represented. I unclasped his fingers from my arm one by one, as if removing a parasite. There is no we, Ethan, I said, voice soft but devoid of warmth. There is no our life. You made your choice in that bar with my sister. This is just the consequence. I sincerely wish you the life you've earned for yourself. I turned my back on him and faced Jessica. She wouldn't meet my eyes, still huddled on the couch, head in hands, picture of self-pity. You had the world, Jessica, I said, voice flat. The world handed to you on a silver platter, a platter I paid for. And you traded it all for a 5-minute thrill. I hope it was worth it. Finally, I looked at my parents. My mother looked up, her face a roadmap of confusion and betrayal. Why? She whispered, the question a summary of her life's willful blindness. Why would you do this? Why would you destroy your own family? I looked at this woman, my mother, and felt sudden profound pity, not for her, but for the daughter she never bothered to know. I didn't destroy this family, I said, voice softening almost imperceptibly. I just balanced the books. For 30 years, my account with this family has been overdrawn. I made endless deposits of love, respect, my ideas, my time, my talent. And in return, I received withdrawals of neglect, dismissal, and disrespect. Today, the account is closed. The debt is settled. The financial metaphor was deliberate, the only language of value they truly understood. This wasn't about emotion anymore. It was a final, clean transaction. I turned and walked toward the front door, polished wood floorboards creaking under my feet. Where are you going? My father called out, voice raspy with defeat. I paused at the threshold, hand on cool brass doorknob, but didn't turn around. I didn't want the last image of them to be their broken faces. I wanted it to be the back of my head as I walked away. I'm going to my life, I said to the door. The one I built. The one I've earned. I stepped over the threshold into cool afternoon air and pulled the heavy oak door shut behind me. The solid, final click of the latch was the sweetest, most liberating sound I'd ever heard, the sound of a prison door locking with all my jailers trapped inside. As I walked down the familiar driveway, I didn't rush. I took my time. I passed the basketball hoop where Jessica had always beaten me because she was more aggressive and naturally gifted. I passed the flower beds my mother tended with more care than she'd ever tended my feelings. I passed the garage housing my sensible sedan, parked next to the empty space where Jessica's convertible used to be. I got in my car, started the engine, and pulled away from the curb without a single glance in the rearview mirror. I was driving away from the rubble of a dynasty built on lies. I had been the silent architect of its prosperity. It was only fitting that I was the public agent of its demolition. The air through the open window felt cleaner. The sun felt warmer. And the road ahead was, for the first time in my entire life, completely and totally my own.